You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back for another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, we are in the trenches of May, deep in May, and the weather is weird. It is hot as hell, like today, right? But like 2 weeks ago, I was like still wearing like a cardigan situation because it acted like it wanted to be cold. But then I believe tomorrow is going to be super rainy. So what is a, butch queen like me to do? I have to just take it day by day. I just ordered some, well, I'm going to save that later, but there's this new hoochie daddy trend. And, there's this thing about shorts and stuff. And like, honestly, we've been doing this. The gays been doing hoochie shorts. Now the straight guys want to get on it. Like, it's this whole gray sweatpants phenomenon, which you all, know about. And if you don't, good for you. But there's this new trend with this hoochie short season, and people already act like it's summer already. I'm like, pipe down. Okay, summer is in June. All right, I believe it's after June 20th is when summer really, really kicks off. In the Black calendar, summer really kicks off after Memorial Day. So that's the end of May. So technically, we're close to summer for Black people, and for everybody else, I guess it's June. But people are already cutting up. The weather is outside. People are getting the new fits. I have found me a couple of pairs of hoochie daddy shorts I guess I'll be wearing for the summer already. I've already started buying my summer clothes. Lip Brothers and I have already started having conversations about what that looks like before all the straights come in and, ruin the stores and buy everything and pick over. We have to come up with a decision soon. So I've been back on florals. I think we're going to, do florals again this summer. It's giving me floral, short sleeve, button up shirt season, okay? No t-shirts, tanks sometimes, but we're really going to really embrace these short sleeve button up shirts with the cute collar, with the floral prints. We'll take other designs, but that's really where I'm going right now. As far as nails go, we're going to keep tips. I think I'm going to keep tips this summer. And if I do some non-tips, then it's going to be just sparkle. But I just really been feeling the sparkles, and I love my nails. I have black tips for the first time, which was something I never thought I would do because I always wanted to do like fun. But these are gorgeous. They snap. And they last long. Shout out to my nail technician. She's doing a really great job. Yep, love my nails. But nonetheless, getting into this, semi-summer vibe, trying to take it in, even though every week it could be another weather. This is what global warming looks like. This is what climate change looks like. Look at it, you all. Let's talk about it. Let's go green. Let's really, push our legislators to do so on a very larger scope, right? Because individuals, yes, we can make it in, we can make a difference, right? We can, I'm very big on not really getting that many store bags anymore. I carry a tote with me when I know I'm going to go out shopping and things. So I'm practicing. I'm trying to cut back on plastics, which Mr. Johnson, I made the decision many, many years ago not to really, really go into like bottled water, like as our means of drinking water. We got one of those big Brita filters, and so that's what we've been doing. It's really been to water filtration. Because in the past, growing up in Texas, it was always like a gallon of water. I buy like the big jugs. But I've cut back from that. And actually, it's been really cost effective, I suppose. Like the days of just always having to buy a gallon of water all the time, or buying big old water bottle packs like every other week. Like all of that plastic, when I can just simply get a really good Brita water filter. And let me tell you something, there's different ones. Like we have this really big one that takes about a gallon, and you can get it at Target, or you can buy it online on Amazon or whatever, wherever. But I just really, have been appreciating it because it's helped us cut plastic. And also, we're people who don't waste around here. Like, I don't believe in food waste. We are very mindful about when we go out to eat, what we buy, so we don't just be wasting. And also, I'm really big on green. I don't do that much air travel. I try to cut green glass, um, push for getting rid of, a lot of fossil fuels and pushing green gas. But it's different stuff that you can do. I mean, I hear going vegan is also helpful, very helpful for the environment. Not going to go vegan, but I'm mindful about where I eat my meat at, right? No pun intended. What else am I doing to reuse, reduce, recycle? I've kept the same man. I'm not out here just, wasting trash. Not that I'm slut shaming people who are wasting and going through, men like H&M shirts. Also, I buy really good quality clothes that I could use. I try not to do that's a real going green thing. Like the whole these companies like H&M that make these very ridiculous clothes. It's just in mass bulk. How much water is used, how much materials is used. You wear these shirts, you break them. I love the fact that I have really been good at keeping my threads. Like a lot of for example, during the summer, I have a huge collection of beach shirts. And fortunately, I've gotten them in sizes that have been flexible. For the past 3 years, I've worn the same size shirt, which has been good. So I've been able to keep it in the range. And the good thing about it is that, designs and patterns. I have shirts. I guess they call them beach shirts, but I call them nice floral prints, short sleeve. I have shirts that people that are 3-4 years old, and people think they're new trends or designs because summer fashion doesn't really evolve compared to other seasons. You can wear a lot of clothes, your favorite beach clothes and looks or summer clothes. If they look good, 2 years ago, they'll look good this year. If you've kept them in good condition, because it's just a look. It's all about how you feel. So I've just built a collection of long sleeve short sleeve floral shorts and shirts. Shirts and some shorts that I can wear now compared to, just any time. And so I add a couple every year. I think about 5 new shirts every year during that summer, but then build upon the collection I have. And I mix and match them, and they always work. There's shirts. I think I have a shirt that I still have from, beach shirt that I still wear. I think it's from 2018. So it's been 4 years. And I just, I'm getting deep into my collection to say, okay, it's that time again. And some, hoochie shorts that's in trend. But, in order to wear not even. Anyway, so yes, weather is great. Weather is fabulous. This weekend and this whole week has been just full of events, which you all knew was coming. I told you all there was going to be a lot going on. I went to a wedding, the other night. My husband's best woman, Katrina, is now Katrina Clinton. She got married. It was a fabulous wedding. We was in the Northeast, which is a lot. It was at the Felt Factory, but the Northeast is not known for having black weddings. But no, they had their wedding at the Felt Factory, which I've never been to, but it was quite the venue. It was a beautiful black wedding. She had so much fun. She got married to Tamir, her high school sweetheart. They've been together for 10 years, and they got married. And it was a beautiful wedding. It was so lovely. Going to straight weddings are always different because there's things they did at their wedding that clearly Barry and I didn't do at ours. And so it was interesting to see the, vibe of it all and all of it, and children, because we didn't have any children at our wedding. We were very anti-children at our wedding. We love the children, but we just are not here for children being at weddings because all the things. But they had children at their wedding, and it was cute, very cute. And, the children were very well dressed, and they was running around and having a lovely time. And it was good for the children. The food was fabulous. The bar, they had a really good open bar. They had these Northeast bartenders. You could tell these bartenders from the Northeast. They were like, what can I get you? And I was like, something that's fun with vodka. And they knew what to do. I mean, you ever go to a really good hood bar, like a nice good bar that's in the cut, like somewhere like Champagne, like what Champagne's 21 for those in Philly that know what Champagne's is. Yeah, that kind of bar, or like some like Neats in West Philly, where it's just that little lounge, and they make these really colorful drinks that look real fruity and fun, but they are strong as fuck. These were those type of drinks. These were the type of drinks that you didn't know what they put in it. It was sweet, it was sour, it had all the elements, but it was strong. And you knew after about two of those, you need to sit down. That was the kind of drink she had at her wedding. See, I couldn't do too much. I mean, we had a nice bar. We had a lovely bar at the wedding, but we kept that shit cute. She was like, I mean, okay, the kind of bar where people was going up saying speeches, and you was like, oh, she had one of those drinks. They didn't have a specialty cocktail. They just kind of said, everybody just go to the bar and thug it out. And we definitely did. It was a lovely bar. Very lovely bar. The tables were beautiful. The ceremony was so beautiful. And it's really great to see people get married. Okay, let me not throw this shade. And I'm not throwing shade about my situation, because I'm not this person. But there are people that oftentimes go to people's weddings and they don't really know the person, but they just want to be there for the free food and free drinks. I think that's so weird. I'm convinced that now, moving forward for like the rest of my life, I am not the person to go to a wedding for someone I don't know, because weddings are long. Weddings carry. And if you don't know the person, then it's not fun. We had fun because we both knew the couple, but I can see some people in there who I was like, do they know who the couple is, or they just here because they somebody else's plus one or something? It was just interesting to observe that. But it's like, I'm only going to weddings of people I know, because I realize how awkward it can be if you go and you don't know the people, just from observation of other folks. But so far, it's fabulous to go when you know the people. I there's people that love to just go to weddings in general because they just think they're fun. I guess they're what they call them, wedding crashers, I suppose. I guess. I just think, because I have two more weddings to go to this year. I have one in New York that I'm going to, but I'm really going to for my other friend. I'm going to that wedding in New York. And then I'm going to my fabulous friend Farah. She's having a wedding in November. It's going to be in Dallas. We're going to fly out. It's going to be in a mansion. It's going to be lit. Me and her just was like, look, we're going to take over the weddings for the 99 to 2000. But we're going to say the 2021 wedding of the year. I'm like, she's going to have the 2022 wedding of the year. That's what it's giving. And Katrina's wedding was fabulous too. Like, I mean, it's great to see some of my good friends get married and other people get married. It's always a good time. But I'm looking forward to going to these weddings. Now that we've gotten married, it's fun because when you're a married couple, you can just sit back and just look at everybody else and not have to deal with the awkwardness of people asking you questions like, when are you next? Because that's what they do. Yes. Listen. Oh my goodness. The previous weddings I went to before Mr. Johnson and I got married, I remember people kept looking at us like, so when y'all go pop the question, I'm like, listen, we got this. Don't worry about us. Once we was engaged, it was easier because then people were like, okay, then the question became when, and we had a date for those asses. But no, people do that. That's a thing. There was some people at the wedding, I went to, and people was asking, look at some of them like, when you gonna pop the question? I was like, ooh, this is awkward, for them. I feel for them. I've been there. I've seen that. So that stuff happens a lot. But it's also with the straights, because the way the straights do their weddings, it was I forgot about this. I haven't been to a wedding in a minute outside of I've been to queer weddings. Okay, there was one wedding, they didn't do any of that, and they were straight too, but they didn't do all the pleasantries. Like one of my good friends, Bjorn, who just had a wonderful birthday. They had a great wedding. Their wedding wasn't filled with all the craziness either. But like, I guess there's some weddings that Katrina's wedding was fabulous. She did this thing where they did the tradition of, I guess the groom has to go under the bride's dress and get the girdle or the strap or whatever that thing that's ties around Lacey. I'm so gay. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But y'all know what I'm talking about. They come and bite it down. Well, normally I saw men go put their hand in the dress, but he put his head in there. And I guess that's like a thing. And he was biting it with his teeth. I was like, oh, wow. And then they have to toss the bouquet. And they did the bouquet toss, which was fun. They played Beyonce Single Ladies. Even though Jamarcus and I both was dancing Single Ladies, like, as if it was just a thing to do. It was so gay. But we didn't know. Like, we were just like, listen, every wedding creates their own tradition, or they continue it. They did the jumping in the broom, which I just think is a mandate, regardless of where you stand or what spectrum of sexuality. For Black people, the jumping in the broom is just a must. We did it. We jumped over the broom. It was beautiful. It was lovely. We just had to have the broom. And they had a lovely broom, and Katrina made her own broom, so it was fabulous. But there was another thing. Oh yes, so then apparently the person who catches the groom has to then toss the satch or whatever the thing was on the leg to the crowd, the men who are single, and this is all for single people. So it's fun because no one married in a situation has to get up and do anything awkward. So it was just fabulous the whole time to just sit and eat and get my groove on without having to be a part of festivities of that nature. Oh, such a relief. But let me say this. I don't care what wedding you go to. Women take that getting that bouquet thing seriously. The men were like not even pressed to get, I mean, they just like, was chilling and standing. But then women were like literally like football players bumping shoulders trying to get that damn, get that damn bouquet. I mean, they were just like, I was like, oh wow, this is serious to them. They take this seriously. They're like, this is gonna be me. This is manifest destiny. Quite the show. It was quite a good time. So also it was a super packed weekend. I'm also had to attend, of course, and be a part of the PABJ Media Professional Awards, which was a fabulous time. It was a great event at Del Frisco's Grill. I told you all about a couple of weeks ago. The event was sold out. It was Black excellence. It was beautiful. Media professionals are being honored. So many great people. Desiree Peterkin Bell, Renee Chenault Fatah. I always have to remember Black women let her have like the three names. So it's like Desiree Peterkin Bell, Renee Chenault Fatah. They gotta have that first, middle, second last name, first last name. They love it. So Roz McPherson, Rachel Ferguson, Corey Aversa got honored. Sean Moran got honored. Kyra Harris. We nominated a lot of people. We had 7 people we honored at this beautiful ceremony, and it was fabulous to be the president of the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists and get to honor these Black media professionals who do extraordinary work. And it was fabulous. And you all saw my Instagram, the photo gallery. So it's there, pictures and great times. Everyone was there. The whole crew was there. The Lip Brothers were there, and my faves. And it was just a good time. Everyone came out. Kelly was there. Sharon, Lauren, Josh, George, Mr. Johnson, of course, Jamarcus, everyone I need to be there. It was fabulous. It was a good time. Good food. Chris Bartlett came. I'm just thinking of all the people that were there. It was a fabulous event. Everybody was like, it was a top tier event. Now we get ready for what's the big event we have with PBJ? I mean, we have our pool parties and conventions. We have a big old NABJ convention that we're going to in Vegas, but we have the gala, which is Saturday, November 12th. Okay, mark your calendars in advance if you want to go. Tickets will be on sale later in the year, but clear your calendar out now because this is the event you don't want to miss. Okay, the Media Professional Award celebrates the PR communications folks in the spring, and then we celebrate the journalists in the fall. So that's November 12th. That's on a Saturday at 6:00 in Philly, West Philly. The location will be in West Philly again, University City area. Come out if you're interested in getting tickets. They're coming, but just clear your calendar out now. Because some of you all who listen to the podcast, you're always like, oh, I want to see you. I want to meet you. Where can I find you? Well, when this, the book is, we're going to get on the book in a minute, but the book will be coming soon and we'll be pushing the book out and then we'll be getting together for that. But before then, we need to also connect to do everything else. So if you want to get a chance to see me in person, if I guess I'm hard to find, these are the type of events to find me at. But of course, when the book begins we get ready to start, doing tours and cool stuff like that, you'll be able to see me there and catch me at some dates and some locations, especially if you're in Philly, the East Coast. I'll definitely be around. So don't miss out. But along with the book is doing well. I'm super excited. Some of you are continue to buy it or pre-order it. The book doesn't come out until February 21st, 2023. So we're less than a year away, of course. We're on the countdown right now. It's 8, 9, 10. We're getting there. Next thing you know, it'll be February before we know it. But I have been super excited about the continual support and praise and excitement and promotion of the book. So many of you all continue to tell me how you pre-order it. You all send me screenshots in the DMs. And I just want to say that not one purchase, not one pre-order is taken for granted, because that's what it's going to take to get the word out and to get to bring great visibility and success to the topic at hand, right? And so I'm so grateful for all of you all for your support and continue to, just spread the word and really get people excited about the book. I have a book publicist specifically that's coming to represent the book from St. Martin's Press, and a marketing team. They're now being a part of my larger arm to help get the word out about the book. So when I heard that there was going to be a full team to really do a lot to get the word out and really market the book, that made me feel great. And so I'm super excited about some more fun graphics and visuals and things that's going to be coming in the weeks to come. Things are coming fast, and I'm very excited about it. And I know you all are excited too, because like this, I get all of your emails and text messages, and listen, I get everything. So I'm telling you, I'm just as excited as you all are, and it's coming very soon. What other great things are going on? My bestie is in Philadelphia this weekend. My good Judy, Amanda, Miss Parks, and her incredible boyfriend, 40 and slip, boyfriend Joe. Yes, Joe. And yes, she has a boyfriend. She's been with him for several years. I don't know why people be messaging me like, hey, what's up with your friend over there? Who? Which friend? Oh, her, the one that's taken, the one with the same, with a good man, good quality, high value man. That guy, that lady, yeah, she's taken. She's already in a relationship. Don't ask. It's gotten to the point where sometimes I don't even tag like people. Like if I have a really, sometimes I wrestle with it. Like with my friends who are in relationships, I don't often tag them sometimes, because some of y'all who be just sliding in be thirsty as hell. And then y'all be doing the following and then the liking. And then my friends be coming back to me saying, who, do you know this person? They follow you too. And I'm like, oh goodness, not one of the followers following and doing the most. Oh yes. And y'all don't even just do it to my homegirls. Y'all do it to some of my homeboys too. Listen, the thirst is all over the place. Y'all do it to the boys too. Y'all be like, oh, who's that? And I think, Jamarcus is single. Yes, he is single, but he is very selective. Single but selective. Let me just put that disclaimer out. They'd be like, listen, he is selective. He is like, Penn, the University of Pennsylvania, Harvard. He's like an Ivy League school. He is he's not playing any games. So if you just think you're just going to go out for a rendezvous with that one, go place your bets elsewhere. Who else? I have a couple of homegirls that are single, but I think they don't want to get, just because they're single, they're not really out here to mingle. Some of them are like, I'm single, but that doesn't mean I'm also available. So, listen, a couple of y'all have tried to go out. I was out here trying to do blind dates, and some people listen to this podcast, they know who I'm talking about. But listen, some of y'all, I have gotten caught up in the DMs where some of y'all would get in the DMs and ask about a friend, and then I'm like, so let me look at his profile real quick. I said to some girl, I won't even make the connection until I see her approval. Do you like this? No? Yes? You do? Okay, let me make the connection. I'm out here being a matchmaker for my friends. But hey, that's what friends are for. That's what friends are for. Listen, that's a hit. Dionne Warwick, okay? Icon. But no, I'm a friend for some of them. But some of that I'm not, because some of them are in relationships. So I have had many, many men come in my DMs asking me about some of my homegirls, especially Miss Parks. And I've had to say, I don't even tell her, because there's no point to even tell her. Like, this is probably the first time she knew that there was people coming in my DMs. And this is probably the first time Joe knew as well. Listen, let me tell y'all something. I'm not that friend. My friend in a relationship, it's not even information to discuss. And if you ever seen Joe looks like a man who does great work in day, but he looks like he's a bouncer at night. He will toss. Do y'all want to get listen, I don't. See, in a world of Will Smith, there's also Joe Hamilton's out here that will handle too. We don't want any of that. We don't condone violence. And we don't condone disrespect to the DMs. So don't. Just when you see these pictures or your timeline, the selfies, and then you see a tag, just look and look away. Please. Please. Oh, that was funny. So yeah, outside of that, it's been a great week. It's been a great week. It's been a very busy week in my personal life. Um, so much stuff is going on, and I always say that every time, but I make time for the podcast because the podcast is for the people, and the podcast is like my deep dive to like release what I think about what's going on in the world and what you all have, some of which you bring up to me, right? You tell me some stuff, and there's stuff that goes on throughout the week with the pieces I write and some of the appearances I make on other media outlets, or you might catch a tweet of mine and somebody's story. That I'm not complaining. Let me be clear. I know what I signed up for, but listen, that Lori Harvey situation last week, I did not know that my tweet, and I'm not gonna say little old tweet because it wasn't little, but it was a tweet. I did not know that would be literally the basis of how everybody discussed that conversation or like pushed on the conversation of negative feedback. I don't know if it's just that media outlets see a blue check and they just say, you know what, this person is somebody, or this person is saying it, and this person wants the smoke, and you know, okay, we'll do it. The truth of the matter is that I really am trying to get people to rethink the way they talk about body and the culture of body shaming and fat shaming and all these different things that people do. But that Lori Harvey situation is not the first time we've heard rhetoric like that. And I don't want her to be the face of fat phobia, because that's not necessarily, I don't think that's fair to her. However, what I will say is that kind of language and that kind of influencer platforms using the people like her, influencers like her, using her platform to perpetuate a lot of that type of stigma, yeah, it is a lightning rod for problems. And I just think, quite frankly, it's just not accurate. It's not a good model. Like I said last week in my podcast last week, go to nutritionists, go to actual professionals. Before you start dropping thousands of dollars, you could easily go to a nutritionist and get the right setup and plan. I really encourage people to do that. Please do not look at diet fads unless people are giving you straight up healthy advice that is across the board, right? Like, I'm big on no cigarette smoking. People can do what they want. That's, it's your body, it's your choice, right? But like, if we're having a conversation seriously about health, smoking cigarettes, decreasing the use of cigarette smoke does play a role in cardiovascular health. That's just a fact. Drinking water is a fact. I'm not saying water is going to cure everything, because people look at me and think, oh, I want to get Mr. Owens' skin because his skin is on fleek. Let me just drink more water. Now, let me be clear. Hydration is necessary. Will you get these results? I don't know. Because my friend Amanda, she likes to drag me all the time about this thing. Ernest is genetics. I'm like, okay, but should I like to, be an equal opportunity beautifier? She's like, no, it's genetics, Ernest. It's genetics. Well, it's that and water too. You got to put some water on a pretty flower to make it flourish. So yes, water. What else? I don't drink coffee, but I know people love coffee. My husband is into coffee. I can't. I've never been to it. Here's the thing. I love the smell of coffee. I like ideas of coffee embedded in desserts and things like that. But just coffee by itself, get away from me. But I like the smell of it. Like a coffee candle. I would love a coffee candle. A coffee smelling candle. It will light my day up. Like, I love the smell. The smell of coffee wakes me up. But I don't need to drink it to get up, if that makes sense. But nonetheless. Yeah. So, drinking water, staying refreshed, staying black and beautiful. Those are my key elements. Being honest, right? Honest will provide good skincare. Honestly will, yeah. Yeah. And also, yes, very, very important. Staying home when you're under the weather. This isn't about skincare. This is about COVID. This past week, we have surpassed 1 million deaths related to COVID in the United States. COVID cases have been going up. There's been an interesting surge. A couple of people I know couldn't even go to the wedding over the weekend because someone had passed away, but someone had gotten COVID. Sorry, that was another story. But there has been COVID deaths still happening, and it's wild. Like people are still dying out here. The pandemic has not stopped. I know I'm talking about coochie quarters and hoochie season and all this stuff for the summer. Listen, it is still a pandemic out here. Please be vigilant. Please make sure you're, getting everything you need to get done. Getting tested on a regular basis. Like I can't emphasize or overemphasize the importance of COVID testing. Like you gotta get it. You gotta get tested on a regular basis, even when you don't have symptoms. Sometimes, if you feel anything, and I was hearing about like how people have allergies. It's allergy season, so it's all of that going on. So is your snizzle based on pollen or is it COVID? Like we're in that time of the year, which I think is good because that makes people more, mindful of like, oh, let me get my ass up and get a COVID test, which is very helpful. People are becoming more communicative about that now. And people just get it. Like, okay, you got it, stay home. Everybody just got to stay home. Be mindful. Wearing masks. I just ebb and flow. But every time I see a surge, I tighten up for sure. But I'm also mindful just about like the environments I'm at, like where I'm going. I'm not all over the place. I'm being very mindful. And I'm also spacing out that time of mitigation, right? Like, okay, I went to this event. I'm doing a lot of events back to back. Now let me sit my ass down. Let me get tested. Let me stay home. Just chill out for a minute. And, fortunately, I haven't gotten COVID. Knocking on this wooden table. Thank you. I have not so far. I'm trying to keep on with this straight A, just moving through, getting that body together. But it's nothing to shame. It's nothing to shame anyone about. Like if someone gets COVID, someone got COVID. It's not to say someone's dirty or negligent. I'm not judging anyone. But it's just one of those things. Is listen. The moment you find out, just get in, stay in, get safe, do what you got to do, get your fluids in, get well. Do your thing. I also want to say that, and I got to keep 100. It was so interesting. There was a guy who I met at the Media Professional Awards who was at first scared to get vaccinated, but then lost someone. And this is who I was thinking about earlier, but they recently lost someone due to COVID because this person didn't get any vaccinations and this person lost their life. So this was a wake-up call for this individual to go ahead, get vaccinated, take care of themselves. So that's a big deal. And more people need to do that. More people need to be safe. More people need to be out here getting, not waiting until something tragic happens. But the research is showing that individuals who are not getting vaccinated, every time these waves are coming, that's what's, causing this surge. And I don't know if it just takes a person to get COVID once to finally say, you know what, how horrible that was, let me get vaccinated. So maybe those people who have been, there are people who have been vaccinated who are just getting hit, right? But there are also people who were still on the fence about getting vaccinated and maybe getting COVID that one time and going through the madness of it all has given them a wake up call to say, let me go ahead and get vaccinated. So maybe that's what's happening too, and also people's immunity and everything else. So hopefully, I'm not saying I want people to get. I don't think people should have to get COVID in order to get vaccinated. And it's a shame that for some people that has been the stories I've been hearing recently of folks saying, okay, a close loved one of mine passed away, or someone they know that was close to them got it and it was a horrible experience, or they got it and it was terrible, that was what it took for them to say, you know what, I can't get this again. Let me go ahead and get vaccinated. So there's been an interesting, dialogue or transfer of reality for some people, even though we have now surpassed 2 years of this now. It's been over 2 years now. It's been over 2 years of COVID. And we've been over a year of vaccinations. And you would think, but listen, knowledge is not bliss. So now we can talk about something that I've been waiting to talk about all this week. I've been super excited. You all have read about it. well, you've all read a lot of things from me, so it's a lot that we're going to be catching up on. But this primary season is done. Thank you. Thank God. It is over. The primaries are over. We have a winner, y'all. We have winners, y'all. And y'all know who I'm talking about. And I'm super excited because this podcast, from the very beginning, said that we were going to be on the forefront of this upcoming Pennsylvania Democratic primary. We were going to interview winners only, which we did. We were going to talk to the candidates. We were going to talk to the people. I'm excited. So, after several months of enduring moderate backlash, crazy, trolling, nasty tweets, excessive online bullying, and cyber attacks, and a lot of bad Super PAC ads, John Fetterman is the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senator in Pennsylvania. John Fetterman won the primary. Let me clarify that. John Fetterman whooped ass. He annihilated. He crushed. He knocked out and blew out whatever, I don't even know if we should call the word competition, he had. Every single nay in that damn town went woo. Nearly 60% of the vote in a 3-person race. Well, 4, if you count Alex Khalil. We can't forget Alex Khalil and her 4% of the vote. But literally in a race that had 3 other candidates, he got 2/3 of the vote. How? This is crazy. It was almost as if they literally called it by 9 o'clock. I think they just projected he was the winner. I mean, the ass whooping was huge. It was almost as if it made no sense. You almost have to go, why did we even have a primary for Senate? Why did Malcolm get in the race? Oh, that's right, he had a vanity project. Maybe this was an opportunity for him to say he ran. I mean, he ran a race that he had no shot of winning. I mean, that's what the numbers say, right? I was looking at those results and I just said to myself, what did we do here? How did this happen? The polls always had him with a sizable lead. They never, there was no polls that ever came out this entire time that said that he was losing, right? He was always in the lead. But the problem is no one ever expected that it was going to be this brutal. It was annihilating. I've never seen a race where somebody got their ass handed to them that damn bad. It was, wow. It was crazy. And here's the numbers. So overall, with all the tallies counted, he had 58.7% of the vote. Conor Lamb had 26.3% of the vote. Malcolm Kenyatta had 10.8% of the vote. And Alex Khalil had 4.2% of the vote. So, yeah. The race was one of the fastest races that got called. He just outright won. And for all of those Conor Lamb supporters, all of that noise, all of that smoke, and this is what you gotta do? I mean, he had more than double the amount of Conor Lamb. He had 5 times as many votes. Over 5 times as many votes as Malcolm Kenyatta. And he had more than 10 times the amount of votes of Alex Khalil. It was a wrap. He had more than all of theirs combined and then some change. It was just what was the point of this? nearly 2/3 of the entire vote. Like, what was y'all doing? What was the point? Why did Conor Lamb even get, like, even for the people who were claiming that, oh, somehow, Malcolm was going to be a spoiler for Conor Lamb, if you add up the votes, Malcolm Kenyatta and Conor Lamb had 26.3, Malcolm had 10.8. If you even do the math, it would have been 37%. Like whatever 10% Malcolm had, if it would have went to Conor, it would have been there. Even if you put like Alex Khalil with all of them, like let's say the argument was that these were spoiler candidates for Conor Lamb. Even if you did the math, right, it would be around 41%. That still would have not been enough to Fetterman's 59%. Like, they would have never had a chance. This race was over before it even started. And to also add insult to injury, because I know there might be people who don't even know this detail. Every county in Pennsylvania voted in favor of Fetterman. He had the majority of the votes out of every county in Pennsylvania. Every county. He won every county in Pennsylvania. Every county. Philadelphia, which many people kept saying, oh, Philly, Malcolm's going to get that, or Conor's going to get Philadelphia because the establishment endorsed him. Conor came in third in Philadelphia, y'all. Malcolm came in second in Philadelphia, and then Fetterman came in first. And the funny part is that for all of the hype, right, he won in every single county. When his campaign slogan was every county, every vote, he literally meant it. He wiped their asses clean. Every single county, including Montgomery County, Dauphin County, counties where Malcolm had gotten endorsements over others, it did not change the outcome of the race. This was literally a single decisive, like, I have never seen a reformation like this in a race like this ever before. I mean, it was literally guns a-blazing. The numbers are wild. This is a person that did not get the state Democratic Committee's endorsement, did not get any endorsements from any counties. In all of the counties that he was in, he did not get any, city committee endorsements from the main ones that did endorsements. He did not. He just went out there and got these votes. And the Philadelphia Democratic establishment, which I wrote an op-ed for Philly Mag about, that so many of you all read this week, thank you. It was clear as day. They've lost their mojo. Yeah, I said it. They lost their mojo. And it wasn't only because of this Senate race, but the races that I talked about over the last couple of days, there were some major shakeups. So Liz Fetler, who was the Democrat that had gotten in that Republican-esque, people think a Trump-supporting Democrat, I suppose, Giordano, who went against her in her district, she won her seat. She reclaimed her seat. Rick Kajewski won his seat against a Democratic challenger, even though he was the incumbent. Chris Rabb, who I have been telling people forever that he's a Teflon Don, okay, of, like, he is a Teflon Don of whatever they got going on in Northwest. Like, they cannot touch him. He got over 60% of the vote. He wiped out Ella Fitzgerald. And rightfully so. He had a more positive campaign. He pushed, on the issues. He didn't get caught up in all of the salaciousness of the flyer. I got to interview Chris Rabb on election day on Tuesday about how he felt about those ads and what they represented and how he felt about his campaign. And he came in there and he just said everything he wanted to say. He kept it 100 and he did his thing. He did his thing. And it was crazy, the way that, people had been challenging progressives Other races were also very close. Stephen Kinsey did win in the district against Andre Carroll, but not by far. It wasn't that much. He fought a good fight. Andre did, and I think that many people in his district, including myself, I don't live in his district, but many of us would say that seat for Kinsey, this is it for him. He gets to get his pension, and then I think in 2 years there will be a new state rep in that district. Mark my words. People are ready for a first time candidate to do that well in a race against a 10-year incumbent. It's time for Kinsey to go. Stephen Kinsey has held that seat. I don't even think he lives in his district. I still don't believe it. I don't think he lives in his district. I think if he's smart, he would get all his ducks together, get his pension together, and bow out there gracefully. But in 2 years, there will be a new state rep in that area. I'm about 90% sure of that. Paul Prescott went against Senator Anthony Williams. He did put up a fight. Williams won his Senate seat, and he'll be there for the next couple of years. He's held on to it. But I think right now, between now and the time he has to consider re-election, it might be smart for him to consider, a succession plan. Someone's got to have that seat. I think there'll be a new person that's going to step into that role very soon, because I think any of these more respected Democrats, some of them are not, right? But Williams is a mainstay, right? He's a mainstay in the Philadelphia Democratic Party, right? If he's strategic, he will start thinking about who he thinks should be a successor. A younger person, maybe a Jordan Harris. He's got people that are under him that he's mentored. But I mean, maybe a Jordan Harris might be ready for that opportunity. Joan McClinton, who knows? But there's other people that he's mentored and he's groomed over the years. And I could see someone like them, rising to the ranks of the challenges in the next couple of years, because I don't see him running for re-election and not winning. He's been in there for over 20 years. I mean, I think might be time. This is one good rope. I mean, I think all of us are growing up in the political space. When I came in, around 2015, now it's 2022. It's been 7 years. And so we're in this road of the landscape is changing. This is time for some people I'm finally in that part where I'm seeing people, begin to realign their political hope. Maybe they are going to run for a higher office by now, or some people are about to retire. But it's time for some people. Some people, when I came in, I'm like, you was there for a long time. 7 years later, you still there? It's time to come on, start thinking about that exit plan. Because here's the thing: the progressives are going to do it anyway, right? And that's what I wrote in this op-ed. I was just like, listen, people are not about to sit up here and wait anymore. This whole Philly policies as usual, especially when the party just doesn't have, it looks like they're just doing stuff out of spite. It doesn't even look like there's a strategy anymore. What is the Philadelphia Democratic City Committee doing right now? They're endorsing, they're backing people who don't have a winning chance. They're going up against progressives just because they don't want to acknowledge how much they matter, and they're losing epically, and there's no enthusiasm or incentive for anyone who's actually abiding by the party. If you're somebody who, I think of someone like Jordan Harris, I think of someone like Catherine Gilmore Richardson in City Council. I think of people like them who have been very obedient and loyal to this establishment, the way that they operate, because they've seen it work for them, and it has worked for them, right? It's gotten them elected. I think that with Anthony Bellman got endorsed by the party. He's a young black man who's about to be in a new district. I think he's going to be a great elected official. It's great to see some millennial voices get in. I mean, he's put in his time though. He worked a lot with Brendan Boyle in Congress. He's worked and volunteered on several campaigns and done a lot of grassroots canvassing and stuff. He's been doing the work. Let's get it. What's interesting about the Democratic establishment is that every time people say, oh, well, what about that time they endorsed that young person or that person? I have to take a step back and tell people, yo, hold up now. The people that they push, low key, those people would have won without them, and quite frankly, should have won regardless of whatever they did, because the work those people do are like they like. I mean, Catherine Gilbert Richardson was like 10 years in city council before she decided to run for office. Like, these are people that put in that work regardless of whether the party chose to anoint them or not. It's good when they do the work, and they do rightfully so endorse them, but like a lot of times they don't, and they miss the mark. And it's just getting very, like, you shouldn't have to be that involved or that astute with the party for them to support you, especially when I'm seeing them run the most, like, some of these challenges they ran against these incumbents made no sense. Also, one situation where there was a close race was in the 190th, but it's not the 190th. I'm sorry, the new District 10. I saw all these new districts. No pun intended with District 10 or not. Oops. But there is a new district in West Philly, and Amin Brown, who was a state rep for the 190th, he will now be the new state rep for that new district. He had challengers. That was an interesting race, but he ended up winning by like barely 5%, but he made it through, and the party did back him. And I think the party can play a role in those very, very super, super, super like Wild West Philly cases, races and stuff. But in certain cases, not the case, because right next door, Rick Kajewski's district, which I currently reside in, he took James Wright out, and James Wright was someone who was endorsed by the party to challenge Rick, and Rick was the incumbent. He was the progressive incumbent. So it's been interesting to see this huge progressive whiplash, which I think will make the party better. I think will challenge them. I think the Democratic City Committee needs to get some new leadership ASAP. I mean, Bob Brady, who was the former congressman, has had that seat forever. He was in office, been in this establishment for over 30 years. He's been in it longer than I've been born. And it's at some point where it's like, okay, you got to retire. It's time. It's time. Like this, like, why is someone who's no longer in current elected office running one of the most, influential political parties in the country and city committees in the country, and this is what you're doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, it's time. It's time. The vice chair is Jamie Blackwell, who just lost her committee person seat. She came in fourth, and so that means she can't even be ward leader anymore, which is going to be a big shakeup. And then she's now most likely, like, what would be the justification for her to be the vice chair of the Democratic City Committee when she can't even keep her committee person seat? Even her own division couldn't even elect her with that name recognition. They clearly did not want her in power. And this is like nearly 4 years after she lost her city council seat to Jamie Gautier. So it's very interesting how the politics have really been shaped. And it's really interesting how people act. I've seen Gautier. I saw her at Relish at the event. She didn't really say anything. She just looked, and it's very interesting to see people in person after many years of I want to say ducking and dodging, but avoiding with intention. In other news, the GOP, man, Dave McCormick and Dr. Oz are battling right now. We do not have a clear winner in that highly contested Senate race. We don't know right now. Right now, Dr. Oz is at 31.2% of the vote, and Dave McCormick is at 31.1% of the vote. There's a recount if you are under 5%. Under 5%. Or is it under 5% or 0.5? I think it's under 0.5%. And so, yes, under 0.5%. If you have more than 0.5%, they typically say, okay, it's decided. But in this case, it is, it's like 0.1%. Like one person, like Oz has 418,535 votes. Dave McCormick has 417,465 votes. So we're talking less than 1,000 between them. So there's going to be a recount being done right now. There's a recount being done right now. Um, as far as votes go in general, Kathy Barnett came in at 24.7% of the vote. A lot of people thought Kathy Barnett with this surge was gonna be there, but right now Oz is in the lead. Oz is in the lead. Barnett's out. She's bitter about it. She's been complaining. The GOP wasn't here for it. Okay, they was like, we can't have Barnett. And Doug Mastro won governor against Josh Shapiro. I mean, sorry, what? He's going against Josh Shapiro for governor. The Republicans did not want Doug Mastriano to win the seat. There was a private behind the scenes attempt to try to stop him, but they couldn't stop him. So he's out. He's in. The party doesn't like it, but Doug is going to be their Republican nominee against Josh Shapiro, who is a Democrat who won, of course, uncontested the Democratic primary. Austin Davis beat Brian Sims, which we all knew was going to happen. Love it because Brian Sims is no longer in any office. He, did not run for re-election for state rep after 10 years of serving. So I think that's because he's going to get his pension. I think all of these 10-year incumbents either decide to move on or do whatever to hold on to their benefits or salaries. Brian's going to be, he's not going to be a political office anymore, which is awesome. But now he gets to do other things, and I hope he doesn't become this glorified stunt queen. But I think that's pretty much what's going to end up happening. He has to now, he'll probably do private practice, do law, do some consulting stuff. Finally, be able to come out about all of the corporations he did speaking engagement for and per diems with, and other things that the ethics committee was investigating at one point in time. This is a lot of interesting things. But he doesn't have to worry about that now. Now he could just get checks and act like he's pushing LGBTQ issues statewide, even though he really didn't accomplish too much when he was a state rep. It was just much so he was a figurehead for pride events and just took all of the great, wonderful, grifting, high profileness that comes with it. Now the only, gay man we have in politics right now in Pennsylvania in that seat that's elected, it's Michael Kenyatta. Andre Carroll could have been the second black gay state rep after Malcolm Kenyatta. But Malcolm Kenyatta appears to be the only openly gay elected official in Harrisburg now, which I think he's going to definitely milk to the highest degree. Brian's out. He's now there in Harrisburg. Who knows what he'll run for next? I think if he was smart, he wouldn't try to run for anything. I've heard from sources that Conor Lamb is considering running for attorney general in the next couple of years if Josh gets governor. That would be dumb because there's another black person I know that is interested in running for that position. I won't give out details on who it is and gender or anything of that nature, but it will be an interesting primary if he dares to do it. But Conor Lamb might try to resurrect himself in the next coming years. So stay tuned for that. Malcolm might be going for Congress. I've heard rumors that he might consider running for Congress. That'd be interesting. But again, we'll see what people do after they lose. Maybe this is an opportunity for them to audition on a grand scale, to have that opportunity to build, consensus and coalition. But there was a lot of people who burnt bridges during this period of time. So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to shape up. I don't know. It could go, I can see it going either way, to be honest. So we'll see. Well, speaking of things that we have seen, the salaciousness with the Black Lives Matter global network. Okay, some of you all read that piece I wrote. Some people got in their feelings. Some people were upset. It is what it is. Listen, the money is out there. The money was out there, and there's been a lot of concerns about how this money had went down. So this week, the taxes for Black Lives Matter, their nonprofit organization, the taxes came out. IRS, what money was spent on. People have been looking at the numbers. I've written about it. One of the things that came out was that one of the founders, Patrisse Cullors, who's been in the news for a minute, surrounding what with the money, it came out that she paid her baby father, $970,000 for quote unquote creative services. Her brother was paid $840,000 for security. A fellow director who she knows got paid $2.1 million. And she was reimbursed. She reimbursed the organization for $73,000 for a charter flight. In her role, there was no board directors at the time, and she did not actually hold board meetings. So I'm at a point where I'm just trying to figure out, what are you doing? What have you been doing? What's going on here? I'm lost. For the Daily Beast, I got a chance to really explore and unpack and share my real unadulterated thoughts about the whole situation. I was upset. Because, she threw a birthday party for her child in one of the multi-million-dollar mansions they had. She threw a Biden inauguration party. Mind you, Biden wasn't there. And I'm like, but what are you throwing a Biden celebration for when you're supposed to be abolitionist? I just don't understand why we're... Okay, I guess. There's just a lot of things that came out in those finances. And many of us had been wanting to know this for years, what was happening with all that money. They got in millions upon millions of dollars during racial uprisings in 2020. And there was lots of questions about what was going on with that money, what was it for? And all of the years that I've known Black Lives Matter protesters and people that were part of the local chapters across the country, they were always talking about how they weren't getting enough money on the ground and support to really do the work they were doing. But this global network was having money, and they were using the people's money for things that I don't think the people wanted. If we wanted to, see you reimbursing, over $70,000 for a charter flight, like all this, oh, my safety, I need to have these expenses for my safety. But at what point do you use the people's money in that way? I'm going to be on a podcast episode talking about some, activism and grifts and things of that nature. And one of the things I tell people is that, let me be very clear here. I think that when people do work, if they can, right, in certain work, people should be compensated for their labor. People should be paid in an equitable way for their labor and their work. 100%, right? No doubt for that. But what is really concerning is how some people have made themselves millionaires, okay, off of this type of work. They've made themselves famous off of this type of work in a way that it just seems, very exploitative. It seems very exploitative. You think about some of these parents who had to bury their children, these struggling Black working families who had to bury their child to extrajudicial police killings. And you see people like, Patrice and Tamika Mallory and all these others turn this sometimes into a farce. Whoever thought the BBQ barbecue was a good idea, it was not. And it's not to say that I understand there were family members who agreed with that, or they probably had no other choice to, but it wasn't their idea. It wasn't their idea to do it, right? They're trying to do everything they can to get the support, but whoever thought it was the idea to even do that, to commodify, Black trauma and death in this way, to say, oh, we could turn it into a time of celebration, but to turn it into something like that and to have these reality TV show stars have a redemption arc off of these people's families' struggle and grief. I'm disgusted by it. I don't like Andy Smith. I think that the way that she used a lot of that Until Freedom work with Tamika Mallory as a way to have a storyline on Love and Hip Hop was just gross. And I love my reality TV, okay? But just the fact that was used, and then the whole argument of this spreading awareness. We're spreading awareness. Shut the fuck up. All of this spreading awareness. Let's be very clear. White people know
that racism exists. The issue has never been about awareness. I'm 100% clear on that understanding now. I'm just, the older you get, the better you get at understanding bullshit. Like, I'm 30 now. So we were having these conversations in 2012. We were having these conversations about Trayvon Martin. It's been 10 years of my life that I have been outwardly discussing these topics, writing about them. Like, I've been doing this. I've been in the game for 10 years. Over 10 years, actually, now. Over a decade. I'm young. I started off as a young star. But, like, I've built my career, doing journalism and doing it from a collegiate level to now this super professional level. But, like, let's be clear. Over the past 10 years, this whole, they were not aware. They knew. White people know about racism. They've known it since Rodney King. They knew it after. Sean Bell. I mean, how many black people have to die before people act like that racism is what they don't understand? Bullshit. Bullshit. Sean King has sat up and has posted tons of grotesque viral videos of black people getting degraded and debased. And did that change how people voted in 2016? The fact that Trump actually had a fighting chance to win re-election in 2020, the fact that there's an insurrection that took place following it, the fact that we still have Buffalo and other shootings that happened based on race, and white journalists are still trying to act like motherfuckers having a toothache was what caused them to do an act of genocide. Like, please. The awareness has been there. The awareness has always been there. The issue has been not about really trying to get awareness, but really trying to do real action, right? Because here's the thing. There's no real action, right? Signing petitions, that's the action. It's not the action, okay? Video shots of you marching at a protest, that's not the action alone. Like everyone is just saying, like, this vagueness around activism that these types of, carpet bagging, grifting folks have clinged to, right? Astro surfing in other people's cities, going in other towns and areas that people are not asking you to be involved, and dominating the direction and really watering down it and working on behalf of the oppressors, right? Because let's be very clear, right? Let me tell you what these commercial people do. These commercial activists, quote unquote. I don't even want to call them activists. Let me tell you what these grifters do. What they do is they see a cause and they parachute their asses there. They're ambulance chasers. Every time there is some death or trauma or tragedy, they find themselves playing themselves there. Like, I hear Sean King's at Buffalo or went to Buffalo. Why? No one's asking to be down there. The same way nobody wanted D-Ray in Minnesota except for those elected officials, that mayor, Jacob, who fucked up, right? Coming over there trying to get, some level of tokenism. I mean, we've written about this. I've written about this for Rolling Stone magazine, about like how this cycle of addressing or trying to do criminal justice reform. When I hear the word criminal justice reform out of these people's mouths, I know everything's about to go haywire, because there's no way that you could reform this shit. There has to be some other kind of conversation to be had. All this incremental change shit is only keeping people paid that do this type of grifting, right? It's easy to keep on every little incremental little thing. You can say success, and like, it's never success. Nothing ever fundamentally changes, but you evoke these people's names to feel like you're making a difference, but you're really not. Leave those people alone, or give those people all of the resources to provide for themselves and to defend themselves. But all this middle ground, all this middleman, all this third party, right? That mediation aspect of these people that want to come in here and act like they've been summoned to be the bridge between community and policy. None of you all are. No one had designated you for that position. You self-appointed yourself because you quickly jumped on the grift and realized there was money to be made, and you've now made yourself that person. When you think about Reverend Al Sharpton, I mean, listen, that man has made it a point to self-designate himself as that person. And mind you, he was attached to a bigger movement that had a lot more, around some folks. But like, okay, you was there at the Civil Rights Movement. No one can count that, deny that. But at some point, where does these self-designated voices or spokespeople for the black communities groups come from? You just make yourself that voice and that person, and you find a way to make it about you in a situation that's really about everyone else. I'm talking about, this is trauma. Like, if you're a celebrity and you want to promote your music and all that, cool, do you, okay? But we're talking about Black death here. We're talking about Black trauma here, right? Hustling, being entrepreneurial, having those type of goals, do you, boo-boo, in your own world. But when it comes to social justice work, when it comes to work that involves Black death, and we're talking about state-sanctioned violence, we don't get famous off of state-sanctioned violence. We don't clout chase over state-sanctioned violence. We don't make ourselves spokespeople and special guests around state-sanctioned violence. We don't get, multi-million-dollar, payouts when we're not the victims of state-sanctioned violence. We don't do that. And to see these people act like living in mansions, right, and giving their baby daddies nearly $1 million for creative services, paying out our family members, everybody is about to be millionaires off of Black death. Disgusting. So while I understand people shouldn't be broke, people shouldn't be fucking filthy rich, we're talking about people that's trying to crack into the 1%. You cracking into levels, you know the income of the people. You got people like, if people rise out of poverty, isn't the victims, right? It's their fucking friends and family of the activists and the grifters that are leading these organizations off of the deaths of these families. The families aren't seeing that money. They're not. These people are paying their family members more money. They're paying their own like Patrisse Cullors was paying her family members and folks in her circle way more money, way more than the foundations, like the Trayvon Martin Foundation, other groups that were actually trying to do the work on the ground to keep their children alive or keep their children's legacy alive. Like, this is disgusting. These are horrible people. Horrible people. Sorry, they are. They're horrible people. Shaun King, Tamika Mallory, Patrisse Cullors, horrible people. Horrible. And all these people that are trying to make a name off themselves from it. Van Jones, horrible. Charlamagne the God, what the fuck? Horrible. And there's nobody that's going to change my name on it. You all think that success and fame are the same things. No, these people are famous. Are they successful? How do we define success? Because I believe that success is rooted in integrity, impact, and just overall excellence. None of these people are excellent. There's nothing excellent about what they do. Famous? Yes. Because anybody can be fucking famous. But not everybody can be successful. And I don't consider being famous as successful. I don't consider being rich successful. Everybody, all this, you're successful because you have money. Not if you're stealing it. Not if you're misleading people. Not if you're extorting it. Not if you're exploiting it. Not if you're doing any of these things. Right? And I'm not saying that these individuals one by one are any of those things. I'm saying allegedly on that. But I'm saying that, to be very clear, they've made their money in ways I think is disgusting. I think that Tamika Mallory has made money disgustingly. I think that all this shit she's been doing, a lot of it has been fucked up. I think the same for Patrisse Cullors. I think the same for Shaun King. I think the same for Charlamagne the God. I think the fact that these people have centered themselves in this way around this work and how they make money on it, I think is very problematic. And I can't get down with it. I can't. You like The Breakfast Club? Go enjoy The Breakfast Club. This podcast is not The Breakfast Club. You want to continue to defend Patrisse Cullors and act like what she's doing is some mass conspiracy? You can believe that all you want. This ain't a mass conspiracy. That money, why? There's all this conversation about giving people grace. And I am for that, right? I very much so believe that people can be given grace. But you can't get to grace without accountability. And you can't get to grace without acknowledgement of wrongdoing. The process of this needs to be, 1, acknowledging wrongdoing. 2, being held accountable. And 3, let's talk about grace. But you're skipping all of these steps. My thing with Patrice is she says vaguely, I've made mistakes. Okay, what mistakes? Specify those mistakes. Name them. Identify them. That's a part of the accountability metric. Once that is done, what is the action? What is the action you're doing? What are you going to do to explain, or what is the course? What is the recourse? And then grace. But to ask for grace without clarity on accountability and identifying wrongdoing is a waste of time. There's a lot of people out here who think that the accountability and the consequence is simply the headlines and the stories. Yes, journalists do the work to help make these people more accountable. But let's be clear, we're not the arbitrators of accountability. The people are. We facilitate information that facilitates an accountability, but we're not the arbitrators. We're not the judge, we're not the courts, we're not the jury, we're not the court of public opinion. We're not those people. And so too much oftentimes is put on journalists to be the ones to do all of the work. No, we do part of that work. I believe that the work that I do to provide the awareness, quote unquote, the facts and information to the people about what's going on, that fuels them to then be able to make conscious decisions based on what they've read and what they see. That to me is what it looks like. That's what the change looks like to me, in my opinion. I could, hey, people can disagree, but I believe that it's a process between the First Amendment, right? When we talk about the free speech, right? That's freedom of press and freedom of assembly. Okay? Freedom of the press is one branch of that conversation around the First Amendment and free speech, right? But we also have freedom of assembly, and freedom of assembly is the ability to protest, right? To organize and to fight back, right? That is a part of it. We can't have a world where just have only free speech or free press, right? Like only free press is the only form of free speech. No, we have to have assembly, protest. All of those things have to come together to basically formulate a strong base to back against oppression and marginalization in society. And we have to liberate that, right? For the most marginalized, we have to do that. And so, yes, I'm a part of that accountability wing as a member of the free press, but it cannot only be done by the free press alone. It takes everyday people making conscious decisions. Personally, my conscientious decision is that I'm not going to give to these national organizations. I'm going to give to local organizations, grassroots organizations that do the work. And that's what I encourage in my piece. All politics is local, period. All politics is local. That is always the motto and the mantra. It's always local, okay? It starts here and it builds its way up. Locally is how we got to Fetterman winning this nomination, right? And now this individual has the likelihood of becoming the next U.S. senator. That started first with local grassroots organizing and people, mobilizing to get him elected across the state, across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Okay, let's be clear. There were other people on other sides trying to do the same thing. But it started grassroots. And that's how we have to do everything. We have to start with people locally. Stop giving your money to these national organizations, okay, and you don't know where the money's going. Or you heard one thing or you hear another thing. We got to stop doing that. It's time for us to really get more local and get away from the vanity and the glam of some of these national places and institutions. And if we are going to give nationally, we better know someone there that's going to have our interests at heart. Otherwise, it's all going to go in vain. So, yeah. So speaking of crooks and grifting, Darius Crooks is back in the news. He is in court right now. Better Business Bureau is also on that ass. A lot of people are on his ass right now. And you know what? Rightfully so. There's been a lot of conversations lately about, to be honest, I don't know when there's ever a time where, Darius Crooks, which is, his real name is Darius Williams, has not been in the news for doing some things that were just downright questionable. So for those who do not know who Darius Crooks is, which is weird because I don't see how you don't, but basically he is a known online social media influencer chef that has basically been, getting a lot of attention for, first he was known for his bad cooking, but then over time, it became clear that there was other things afloat. And so for a while, everyone was just, there were people like, as you know, my podcast, who has my special guest, there were great people like, the Kitchenista, which her real name is Angela the Kitchenista Davis, who called him out for a while. And yet people really was, questioning, her and, judging her and getting mad at her because she was calling him out. Because heaven forbids, we criticize a black man who doesn't have his shit together. But in this case, he didn't. So the Better Business Bureau of Metro Atlanta has now issued a warning about people doing business with Darius Williams, aka Darius Crooks, or as he calls himself, Darius Cooks. People have said that basically more than 70 customers who've worked with him, according to the Better Business Bureau of Metro Atlanta, complain that they paid for cookbooks, they've gotten his cookware and his tickets, because he has this infamous dining with Darius cooking, and they didn't get their product. They didn't get what they paid for. And they said that he ignored their requests for refunds as well. And so they said, quote, this comes straight from them, because they're a nonprofit organization, Better Business Bureau. They said BBB advises consumers to use caution when doing business with Darius Cooks LLC, they said. They pointed out that none of the complaints were ever answered as well by him. He told Fox in Atlanta, Fox News, the local affiliate in Atlanta, he just respectfully, I don't care, is what he said pretty much. Now, his LLC has administratively been dissolved since 2019. And that was arguably because of the fact that he did not file annual registration, did not maintain his agent and stuff like that. But the crazy part is that there's been a lot of, concerns about how he's been doing his business since. And a lot of people have also accused him of doxing and trolling people. Right now, there's a woman named Melanie Ford who says that she did not get a chance to testify in the hearing for him because he's currently in court, but she wants him to pay her legal fees. And she wants him to have a restraining order. And this is based on the fact that she said he had doxed and trolled her on social media, which he posts like a lot on Instagram and Twitter for people who don't know this, but he posts all the time. And a lot of this information has been, for me, no shocker, because I covered him a year ago for the Daily Beast. Other black women on social media had also called him out for a lot of his toxic behavior online. And it's been a lot. There's been people who have said that he's put their public information out there. He's encouraged his faithful trolling followers to clap back. And people call it doxing and trolling, for those who know what that is. And so this happened to one person where he posted pictures of someone who called him out. He posted pictures of their children. And then, in one situation, this woman had received threatening calls. The woman, Melanie Ford, who lives in Atlanta, she got a bunch of crazy, negative calls, text messages and phone calls and comments from his fans. It was just ugly. And she's now taking him to court for it. And, the crazy part is that, it's just been a lot. So in one situation, while he was in court, someone asked them, and this is what was asked of him. And so you're saying you do not troll people online, is what they asked him in court. And he said, not without reason. So clearly he's embracing what he do and actually trying to argue that he, So it's getting tight over there in Atlanta for him. For people like myself who's been following him for a while, none of this is surprising to me at all. None of this is surprising at all. It's a moment that people should just reflect on. That one, it should have taken a local news outlet like Atlanta's group to now, because he's on Fox, he's on this Fox local news affiliate, right? He's on Fox 5. Now, all of a sudden, people believe that he's as problematic, even though there's been countless years of people telling their stories, and yet now people are starting to really take it seriously. And now he's done. I don't see. I mean, he might have his cult following, but I mean, there's always going to be like there's Trump supporters that no matter how corrupt Trump appears to be to people or how much he keeps getting hot water, there's going to always be this loyal like contingency of people that's going to always follow no matter what. And I think that's the case with him, that he has his cult following that will follow him and deal with him no matter what. So, it's what happens. But I think at least taking the legitimacy away from him, if he's clearly not living up to those expectations, I feel like that is the real consequence that can happen in this situation. So we'll see. So this big story I worked on, I've been talking about for several weeks now, has finally come out. You all have been reading it, been asking me questions about it. It's been a lot. The story around the nonprofit From Privilege to Progress. As you all know, that organization was at the helm of Michelle Sassine and Melissa DePino. And this centered around an incident that took place 4 years ago in 2018. In April of 2018, we saw two black men get arrested right outside of and escorted out of a Starbucks in Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia. This became national news. It became a big, huge moment, simply because of the fact that this white woman who was a barista there decided to call the police on them simply because they was basically Starbucksing while black. The incident created a wild uproar. Many of you all remember this. I mean, so many conversations happened at Starbucks across the country. It was a big deal. This is what a big moment. I mean, you couldn't get enough of it. It was on the news. It was everywhere. Philadelphia was in the news nationally, and not for the right reasons, right? But nonetheless, it was a situation that happened at Rittenhouse Starbucks, and Starbucks as a company had to do a lot of damage control. But what came out of that situation was Melissa and Michelle creating this. They were two people who were there the day this incident happened. Now, for starters, let's be clear. So Michelle is black. She is the woman in the video that you can't see in the video. That viral video, you can hear her speaking out about what she was seeing, but you don't see her. The video was filmed by another woman white woman who did not, disclose who she was, but she was at the situation. She saw it with her own eyes. She filmed it with her phone. She gave the footage to Melissa DePino, who's a white woman. Melissa then took that footage, shared it on her Twitter account, and that's how it went. The situation had gotten very viral. According to Michelle said that Melissa really wasn't saying anything or speaking out at the time when this incident happened. But once the men got taken out of the Starbucks, that's when Melissa, the white woman, began to speak up and acknowledge what she saw, and then spoke up and shared. And then the two of them connected because in the very beginning, Melissa was getting a lot of the attention. No one knew who Michelle was. No one knew about the other people who was at that Starbucks. Melissa got all the attention because she's the one who made the post on her Twitter account. But that's just very telling because it's like, wow, so she didn't even film it. She didn't even speak out. But because she shared it, she got the source of the attention because it went viral. No one knew all the details about what Melissa's role was, but because she was the one who had the viral moment, that became the draw. Welcome to the internet. So eventually, like a week later, her and Michelle bonded, created this organization called From Privilege to Progress. And basically they went on speaking tours together, getting paid, okay? Going everywhere, Procter & Gamble, Google, Yale, Penn, who else? It was a bunch of companies. They was on Red Table Talk, they were all over. Doing these speaking engagements around race. And according to Michelle, because I interviewed both of them for this story, and this is in Philadelphia Magazine, the title of the piece, which is a very, very notable headline, but the headline for the piece is from Starbucks to cease and desist, the implosion of a Philly racial justice org. So that's the title. You can find it online. It's available. Read it, check it out, share it. But yeah, I mean, pretty much their intention with the organization was to desegregate, quote unquote, to desegregate the public conversation about race and racism. That was their plan. They wanted to get together to really confront this. But both of them weren't, when they first started this, properly trained to lead any of these conversations. I mean, Michelle says that she took courses during that time, in the very beginning of the formation of this nonprofit. She took DEI courses and she got a certification from Cornell University, and learned better ways to discuss the topic and educate herself. Melissa DePino did not. And Melissa's white, and she didn't get the certification. She didn't get a speaking coach. Michelle had said she wanted her to get a speaking coach. She didn't. It was a lot of lack of preparation. It appears to be allegedly on Melissa DePino's part that I think created some of the friction. But really, one of the biggest issues that happened was that early on they did the pay 50-50. A 50-50 cut off the jump, off the entire top. And that 50% split, Michelle is saying now, and even in retrospect then, is that she felt like she should have been paid more because as a Black woman who basically had to speak out about trauma, she thought that was more of a better, model, an equity model of sorts. Melissa, has claimed that that she wasn't aware of this, and had she been, she would have considered it. But I'm just thinking to myself that so much, like looking back at those interviews and looking back at that story, that sometimes why do white people have to be told? In my opinion, just why do white people have to be told everything? Like, I guess in some sense we can't just expect, or you're in a organization that's trying to talk about desegregating race and racism and these conversations, but you don't even think about how this equity shows up in your own company, but you're going to major firms and nonprofits and corporations and you're talking to them about racism and privilege, but you can't even decipher that within your own nonprofit structure. That was interesting to me. And so a lot of the conversation becomes a situation where it seems to me that Melissa needs to do more work on how she comes across and how she reads the room than trying to lead. But the real fight has come, and this is what came out of the story, is that right now, Michelle Sahin, she wants to get out of this relationship. She wants to get out of this relationship with Melissa, this formation. They don't have a board of directors. They don't really have much of a other staff. It's just the two of them. And they have a charter, and their charter basically says that in order for them to dissolve or whatever, they have to have mediation or other considered things. But that doesn't have to happen if they just comes to an agreement. In a dispute, they would have to get mediation. Right now, Melissa, or as of the time in which I wrote this story, Melissa wasn't sure about if she wanted to dissolve. And at some point, did I even want to? She just felt like if Michelle didn't want to be in the leading role, they could bring another person in. And it appears to be another Black person to basically replace Michelle in their Black and white duo set that they had going on for many years. I mean, last year, they made 6 figures apiece off of their speaking engagements. So they were rolling in the dough. They were starting to, up their prices on their speaking engagements. They began to really increase in critical mass. And it's been a mess because since their, agreements, I mean, it appears that Michelle has gotten woke. She's gotten more aware. And she has begun to distance herself from Melissa in a way that has made Melissa upset, right? Personally hurt. It's that. But at the same time, Michelle is like, look, I don't want to run this. I don't want to do this organization. It was something they created together. She's like, look, let's just separate. Let's just split it all. Melissa doesn't want to do that. Melissa has been in this fight to hold on. So right now, they're both trying to figure it out. I wonder if, the way the public's responding to this story, or now that this is all public, if Melissa's going to rethink fighting with Michelle. Will she just let it just break? And will they just, what happens next? But I just wonder if they're going to still, if Michelle's still going to be forced to have to go through a mediation, which costs money and time and resources to break out of this, than just simply just saying, look, let's just be adults. Let's go our separate ways and let's dissolve this, right? It's a shame. And you would think, like, why would a white woman want to hold on to an organization that a black woman is at the helm of in this way? Like, why are you forcing this black woman to have to go through mediation, go through all this to break out of a nonprofit to which she feels you're not culturally competent or sensitive enough to lead with her? And this is a lesson to be learned here, because too often in organizations addressing racism and race, there's white people that want to be dictating and holding on to certain power and privilege that they are trying to critique others on having, but they won't look within themselves and see how they're perpetuating the same problem. And so it's very frustrating to see this happen, especially in Philadelphia. But we'll see. I've been following it. I do want to see if Melissa will finally give in and just say, you know what, let me fall back. But if they got to go to court or they got to talk to a mediator or whatever, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So another things that's been going on, been following. This week has been, my life has been its own reality show. But I must say, I watched the finale of Jocelyn's Cabaret, the reunion, which I think this is the final episode. I don't know, because it was kind of weird how it ended the finale, but I guess this is the reality. I don't know. But it is, I have a love-hate relationship with Zeus Network. I think I can say that. I thought, I don't want to say it, because now I feel, listen, sometimes you live and you learn. I thought I was going to be obsessed with Zeus. And I am obsessed with this Zeus channel to a certain degree. But I'm starting to realize why storylines and reality TV shows matter. Because some of these people are boring as hell. Or they're so talentless and classless that the only thing they can actually do to keep themselves afloat is to fight or just be completely nude. And while some elements of cattiness works great for a reality TV show unscripted, there is an aspect of a reality show that does have a little bit of some storyline element that gives you a nice flow and thematicness of it. Now, people always get mad about this whole, reality TV is fake and da-da-da. I mean, look, I look at reality TV as a show with a greater deal of truth, but like historical fiction, but reality fiction. I think there's truth, but then some things may be a little over embellished, and there might be some, some gas to it, but it's still real in a way, right? Like, I do think that really good reality shows, right, have an element where there are people who don't like each other. Now, how they're set up not to like each other, or how they're put in certain scenarios, I do think that could be there, right? Because get it, not every day everybody's just getting up and going on set and having coffee chats and talking. Like, some of that has to be curated. And you know what? I used to get annoyed by that. I thought Zeus, they do a lot of unfiltered shit where they just kind of just have these people just doing whatever. I mean, it's at some point, it's like there's so much fighting where it's like, okay, well, can we understand why everybody's fighting? Or can there be a little bit more emphasis? Like, what's the point? They're just egos. It's just like, it makes no point. Like I'm watching Jocelyn's Cabaret. It's like there's no dating issues. They're not fighting over, oh, this person slept with my man, or, whatever. It's just pretty much infighting, like dumb shit. Like, oh, this person looked at me funny, or this person said I'm not talented behind my back, and now I want to just get angry and act like it has to be a whole fight when it doesn't even have to be a fight. It could have just been, you said that, well, you fake. But I guess that doesn't keep the show going. But it's just, I don't know. I am starting to miss a little bit of the episodicness of Love and Hip Hop a little bit. I'm starting to miss a little bit of it got to a point where that got cheesy. But I do kind of miss a little bit of a character arc or story arc that involves these people. There's none of that on Jocelyn's Cabaret this past season. I think this just was like, okay, fights, stupid blow ups, dumb arguments, ass and titties, because the girls were in nudes throughout some episodes. And I'm just figuring out, and you're all doing this for what? I'm confused. Oh, that's right, to go on the cabaret and you know, I don't know. I thought that, good. I thought this was the answer. I'm gonna, I've been watching Bad Boys Club, and even I feel the same way. Bad Boys Club is a little bit more intriguing to me, but for different reasons. I'm just happy that the show has more gay talent on there, because a lot of the infighting and the lingo or the jokes, I feel like it's a show made finally for people like myself. But there's some things that goes on that show that's also questionable and interesting and problematic, of course. But I mean, even with Bad Boys Club overall, I still don't understand the concept of why they're there. I'm like, are y'all gonna win money? Is there a competition? Is there like an element? There's just a bunch of guys who I guess are influencers. They're in one building, and I guess we're supposed to see how they work it out. I mean, it's kind of like everybody's doing the real world model, which the real world was interesting in that way, but they were like co-ed, so there was people sleeping with each other and some real deep conversations where you just put a bunch of people in a house together. So like real world did not have any real basis, except the concept was like, oh, a bunch of strangers living in a house together, what could go wrong? And they all have different backgrounds and ideas. So that was the success of that show. There was like no contest. It was a show about nothing, but about something, because of who was there and what they did. And so something would organically pop off. I guess everyone's trying to copy the real world model with these shows, but except all these people have some level of notoriety where they're not everyday people. So there's like, you already kind of know, and you think that is a good idea, but in reality, they just become even more vain and cornier and actually more vapid than if they were like by themselves solo. Like, I feel like all of them have been on reality TV show before. I'm talking about Bad Boys Club, where some of them have already been in fame. So I feel like they're trying so hard to have viral moments that they can't actually be regular people. And that's actually turning me off. I don't know. I feel like reality TV, like, because we've made reality stars, now I feel like everyone's going to a reality show to be a reality star rather than just be a person. And therefore, I don't know. I think we're in this weird phase with reality TV. I feel like I think everybody wants to go back to sitcoms. I feel like we're getting more and more bored with reality shows, unless they're like reality TV game shows or something, or competitive competitions. But I think we're getting really over celebrities on TV. Like, I think we're over regular people. I mean, not regular people. I think we love regular people. I think we're over celebrities or influencers on reality shows. I think that's starting to fade out, because it's starting to become just a big ass grift. Like, it's like, oh, you're really here to push a product. You're here to sell something to us. And it's like, oh God, we don't need this. Because we get it all on Instagram. And I think Instagram, as social media, has played a role in killing reality TV. Because I was trying to figure out, how come we loved reality TV so much when we were like younger? And I think part of why we did was because we were like, oh goodness, this is giving us access to our favorite celebrities in ways that we never could before. Like, remember Diary? Like on MTV, the show Diary, like this would be the diary of some celebrity. I remember the Diary of Alicia Keys, the album, but she also did an episode for Diary. I remember Diddy had one. I remember Brandy had that weird one. I just remember a couple episodes like of Diary and like the celebrities, and sometimes it was a little corny. Like, I felt like it was like, ugh, okay. But I used to miss the making of a music video, where they would make the video and we would see them make the video, and then they would premiere the video for us to see, and we had a larger, more profound appreciation for the art of music video making. We need those again. Those were good. But like, now everybody just drops their videos and premieres them on YouTube. Like, YouTube literally killed the music video like era of like watching TV, waiting for the countdown, like URL. Like, that was the only time you could ever see a music video, was like on, URL or something, or like a website. But like, you had to watch the TV to watch the video. Like, you couldn't watch music videos anywhere else. And then once the internet really exploded, YouTube really blew up, then everyone was like, I don't gotta wait for a countdown. I could just watch this music video like right here, right now. So it's just, the internet has, changed things. And I think that's the case with reality TV. Like, I don't need to see any of these TVs, these realities, these celebrities, these reality stars on TV because I can just go on their Instagram. And then what's crazy is that social media, Instagram videos, and all this stuff on TikTok and whatever, the drama is so much in real time that by the time reality, TV stations that will put it up, you're just kind of sitting there looking like, well, we already know what happened there. Now we got to get these reactions. I think that's what's happened with the Kardashians. Like, I don't care about this show. I don't care about this new show on Hulu. I think it's just stupid. Like, now we know what they do for a living, which is pretty much nothing. But, that's right. What they do is they sell products that they don't actually buy and use themselves, unless it's their own products that they're selling, because they're also advertising other people's products all day. If they're not doing that, then they're also just pretty much starting shit so they can have something to talk about on their show. And then we're supposed to be like, oh my goodness, I want to see this. I can't wait to watch a new season to understand the lowdown of what happened there. Well, no one cares at this point because by now someone else would say something or counter or whatever. And it's almost pointless to watch these episodes because they feel dated on arrival because by the time they draw out or drag out certain drama, we're like, that's old. We now know they're not together. Like Tristan Thompson and Chloe, watching them right now is traumatic as fuck because, like, this man had a whole baby. We know this now. Now they're not even happy. Like, do we want to see these people together? Like, who cares? I don't know. Just over it. So I'm having a moment right now. I'm having a reality TV crisis. I just don't know the use for it. But there's always other things in the world going on that I could be more upset about, but here we are. So, looking forward to the rest of the month. We're down in the final trenches before Pride Month. Pride Month, I'm already getting invitations. I'm finding out some news about myself that's going to be coming out next month about Pride Month. So stay tuned for those exciting things. But next week, is the final week of May Day, lots to cover, lots to be announced. I've just been sitting on my hands. I hate teasing you all. But I mean, I can't hold myself. But every time I must say this about myself. Every time I do announce something, it is big. It is something that is like a wow. It's never just something. All good things are great. But like, they're not things that are just like, oh, okay, all right. He went to Raising Cane's and had the chicken tenders. That's not the kind of news I'm breaking. I have some really dope things coming up. And of course, this is a year of harvest and I've planted a lot of seeds and I'm starting to see some things continue to flourish and grow. And I just hope that for everybody and everyone who's listening to the show, look at the things that you have, the things that keep you going, the seeds that you can start to plant to see harvest and see things grow. That's what I'm spending my time doing. I'm spending my time just basically continuing to pour into others that pour into me and just see stuff continue to just harvest and manifest itself. I don't speak it out loud to everybody. I think sometimes there's beauty in having personal goals and having seeing things happen and having intimacy with yourself in that way or with close people. I think there's levels to it. I know there's people that say it out loud, speak it to existence. Yes, you could do that, but speak it to existence for yourself. Say it out loud to yourself. Feel it. And I do a lot of that, time to reflect. I think something too often people think it has to be a moment for everybody in a way. I have to a certain degree because my work requires the people. But I think more and more I'm starting to tell my friends and even tell other people who I, collaborate with and work with just to take the time to have things that are intimate to you, things that you like, goals for yourself and really stick with them and stay with them and stay and embrace them. Not every single plan you have needs to be up against the wall, up on social media, up for everybody. Trust me, I have a lot of things that I don't broadcast on social or out loud, even on the podcast, because I like to see some stuff, follow through and come through, right? And I think that that's important. Everyone should have that. So, as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.